Moving on now, let's bring in Hamzat Lawal, who is the founder, Connected Development. Follow the Money, joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Lawal, thank you so much for coming and for your patience.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me.
So, Mr. Lawal, to be or not to be, the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission is saying the salaries we're paying our political office holders, beginning from the president, is unrealistic. In fact, I'm trying to get to that particular quote that was cited, where it talked about, you are paying the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1.5 million naira a month with a population of over 200 million people. Everybody believes that it is a joke. So what I did was I quickly went to our dear friend, aka ChatGPT, to check how much some presidents earn, which I would like you to piggyback on. US President, $400,000 per year. UK Prime Minister, $167,000 or pounds or euro now per year. Chinese President, $22,000, I think, per year. The German Chancellor, 360 euro per year. Then I came down to Africa. I just asked for 5 top president pay, or president with top pays in Africa. Paul Biya, $620,000 per year. King Mohammed VI of Morocco, $488,000. Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, over $200,000. Uhuru Kenyatta, $192,000. That's per year, per annum. Yoweri Museveni, $183,000 per year. So if you look at President Bola Tinubu's salaries by what the Fiscal Commission has said, if they are paying him $1.5 million a year, that's about $1,000 in today's exchange. So it means a year, President Tinubu should be earning in the neighborhood of about $12,000. Is that fair?
I think when we want to talk about fairness, we should also look at it from the point of what is our GDP per capita, what is the average Nigerian earning, because, you know, the chairman talked about, fairness. But if you really want to talk about fairness, we should look at what our civil servants are earning, what our security agencies are earning. Because, again, these are the people that are on the front line and also ensure that the Nigerian people get services. So, again, and maybe just to be a bit sarcastic here, I think maybe we should reverse our minimum wage to 30,000 and take what is on top from every civil servant and gather it and then give it to political office holders. Come on, man, let's be serious for once, I think, one, it's insensitive, particularly at this point in our political history, that we want to take money and give to political office holders. Even if I understand the constitutional role of, the commission, but then again, you must also be very sensitive about the current plight of the Nigerian people, the state of the economy, the state of the country, and this reform that are happening that is putting a lot of burden on the Nigerian people. And particularly, I want to quote Mr. President. He said that we must tighten our belt. This is the time for us to sacrifice. So why is it that the political office holders don't want to also sacrifice? Why is it that it is the citizens that would carry this burden? What burden are they carrying? And you see a lot of, the commission just focus only on their salary. Let's talk about their allowances. Let's talk about their ESTA code when they travel for all these foreign trips, So let's talk about also other entitlements. So, some of them even roll or ride on armored cars, that's bulletproof vehicles. So let's not just only focus on their salary, Let's focus on all of these other entitlements that come with, occupying political office. And you see, we've been saying that we cannot continue to make public office this attractive, because if you make it attractive, then that's why you always have do or die affair, where people want to, do whatever is unconstitutional to occupy this office. So no, I think, one, it's insensitive. And I think it's political suicidal if, for any reason, Mr. President, after, this commission put together their report and all the consultation that they hope to do, pass this into law. Mind you, President Obasanjo did not, assent to, the reviews that was done previously. President Jonathan also shied away from it. Even late President Muhammadu Buhari, God bless his soul, also shied away from it, you know. So I think it's not timely. I think, it's insensitive, and this will be a political suicide, particularly for the executive arm of government. Even if I must also acknowledge that, 33 years we've not reviewed, salaries. But, there's also an underlying factor here. And for me, I think this is even much more important than what the president and other heads of agencies and parastatal earn, is how do we take more money to the local government? And how do we ensure accountability mechanism? Because I know it's also part of the conversation that was had. And mind you also, there's a lot of money going to state. And there should be a lot of money going to local government. And with the Supreme Court ruling about local government autonomy, but we're not seeing the implementation even after 1 year of this ruling. So how do we ensure that we can change the allocation from the federation account and ensure that money goes to state, but particularly more money go to local government? Because, the state governors, they have immunity. So when they're in office, really they're not accountable, and they hide under the immunity clause. But our local government chairmen, they don't have immunity. So our anti-corruption agencies can actually find them wanting when they try to skim the milk. So for me, what is much more important is how do we take resources to the grassroots, particularly local government.
Some of the points made by the RMAFC, or RAMFAC as they're called sometimes, is that you pay the CBN governor, for example, times 10 of what the president earns, or you pay a DG times 10, the minister earns 1 million. How does that make sense? So what do you propose, really? Because obviously this is a concern for them. Timing, yes, it's going to be a challenge. So what do you propose is for DG or CBN governor is earning times 10 what the president is earning on paper, I should say, on paper. Because if you look at the schedule, you see that a lot of the line items, they put to be published. So it's not even added to the total. So what we see most times as a total is not really the total, because we don't have a full picture of the president's, salary and allowances, for example. But my question is in relation to, let's say, the CBN governor, as the RAMFAC head said, or a DG who earns times 10 of what maybe a minister earns, or what have you. So what do you prescribe? Should we bring down the CBN governor's salary in that sense so there will be a balance, or increase those other ones so it will match up, if you catch my drift here?
I think first is we need to understand that some of the heads of agencies and parastatals are professionals. And these are people who even government have scouted them or recruited them from the private sector, who are earning really good salaries. So, but again, some of these political appointees and public office holders are politicians. Some of them are not professional. Some of them don't even have results, let alone even certificates. So, and when you also look at it, again, some agencies parastatal, the head of this agency do much more work than even the ministers who are supervising over them. So I think, again, if we want to be fair, maybe we should reduce the salary of the people that they think earn more than the president, if they think that the president should get more remuneration. And right now, the Nigerian people cannot afford, to pay the salary of the president, what he wants to earn, or what the chairman of the commission wants to give the president or propose for the president to earn. Since we cannot afford it right now, maybe we can reduce the salaries of some of these people that he has mentioned in his report during the press briefing, and take this money and maybe give to, people in the Nigerian police force or the civil service people that we know that their salary and their purchasing power have been reduced due to the economic hardship. So for me, I don't think this should be an issue. And if they're complaining about their salary, let them resign from office. Let them go to the private sector, or let them start a business and pay themselves what they think they actually deserve. Let them not come and put burden on us. The Nigerian people are already carrying a lot of burden. There's a tax burden. The debt burden we're carrying. Now you want to add more burden to us. So what sacrifices are political office holders? What sacrifices are they making? If they say the Nigerian people should sacrifice, they should lead by example and not want to collect fat salaries.
So what do we now do when the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, who should be championing what you're advocating, to say, okay, leave it the way it is, or even reduce it so that there's that markup, okay, in case somebody's earning way more than the president, okay, let's see what we can do and adjust here and there. When the people that are supposed to look at the situation of where we are in terms of our fiscal performance and our fiscal reality, and now at the vanguard of advocating for increase, what are we left off with?
Well, again, this is about rent-seeking. This is about wanting to ensure that they make the president happy rather than focus on their constitutional responsibility. I don't know why they've not even made a statement or reacted to the fact that we've not even gotten the quarterly budget performance or expenditure. Because again, this commission, one of their roles is to ensure that we utilize money prudently and advise government on how to ensure that we get value for money and the impact in investing in infrastructure. Not even the federal government, also state government. So I think that they just have misplaced priorities, and maybe they should focus on, some of their constitutional responsibility. Like I said before, I understand that over 33 years, we've not really reviewed some of this allocation and the salary of the president. But this is not the time to do that. The country cannot afford it. And, this is a no-brainer. Yes, I understand they say they're going to have consultation, even with civil society. We hope that they don't bring rubber stamp civil society or, for this consultation. We look forward to an invitation to this consultation. So we tell them directly to their face, this is not the time, to debate what the president earns. And if, again, like I've said, if our politicians and political office holders think that they're not paid what they're due, they should resign and go and find a job that would pay them. Or they can create their own company and, allocate salary to themselves. Let them not put more burden to what the Nigerian people are carrying. And again, leadership is about, leading by example. And, I think that, again, except they want to set Mr. President up, I think this is even a setup for Mr. President, because why would you want to take a decision that will make the leadership of the country so unpopular?
It's quite interesting, really. And as you said, the RAMFAC has its job, right? They just make the proposals and say, well, since 2009, for example, we've not looked at this thing. Yes, we presented it in 2009, presented it even in, I think, 2015. But the president, I'm saying, so let's present it again. So nobody will say we did not present it. But, the elephant in the room, which you spoke to, is when people see the remuneration package and see 40 million for the president, they say, come on, Abba now. Even the position alone of a councillor, right? Yes, we see what is on paper, but that position alone fetches other things, right? So I doubt if the average council or local government chairman or, any of those political office holders really check their salary account and say, oh, alerts don't enter, as a worker will do. So let's talk about the other perks of the office, because in some way, this also, and the point of this conversation really is to fight corruption. So some have said increase their salaries such that when there's some sort of inducement, they don't look at it because their salary sorts them. So they don't have to engage in sharp practices in the guise of trying to fend for themselves. So they've said for that reason, increase their salaries. But then the perks that come with this office. Someone pays their children's school fees. Someone gets them vehicles, and buys a house for them. So they're really comfortable. So you have been following the money. You have been at the vanguard of, fighting corruption in that sense. What do we do about, these perks that come with the office that are times 1 million of the official amount?
You see, and that's why constitutionally, before you go into public office, ideally you're supposed to declare your assets or what you have, even before you occupy public office. So that, again, there's a government agency that's supposed to also ensure that, they monitor and ensure that you don't use public office to amass a lot of wealth. Again, that's on paper, but you and I know what the reality currently is. But I think, if we want to make this country work and we want to tackle corruption, let's focus on the civil service. Because, see, every salary earner, and when you look at data, what do they spend on? Feeding, shelter, school fees, healthcare. If you can deal with this 4 key issue, and then the 5th one is transportation. If you can deal with this, you will drastically reduce corruption. And so what am I saying? Let's invest in educational infrastructure, but not just the infrastructure, but also output. What are you teaching these children within the 4 walls of the classroom? Let's invest in public health care so that our politicians do not have to always fly out of the country when they have headache, you know. Let's ensure that we have public transportation that is effective and efficient and affordable for the Nigerian people. Let's also ensure that we have affordable housing, you know, because we now know the kind of corruption that is ongoing in the real estate sector. And I'm really glad that the EFCC chairman, you know, wants to really focus on that sector. And hopefully we can unbundle it. So if you, as a government, invest in this critical infrastructure, then you don't have to worry about, oh, my salary is small. No. Because if this is how the Nigerian people would really feel and enjoy the dividends of democracy. You know, again, we're just here talking about a percentage of people, and we're not even focused about, you know, the other 99% of our population that are in dire need of some of these services. So, again, I think it's important to focus on increasing salary for civil servants, because you and I know this current minimum wage is not working for them, rather than, you know, trying to pay people that are very overly even comfortable, literally people that are being spoon-fed. You know, we want to still add, you know, more feeding to them so that they continue to grow fat while the Nigerian people grow thin.
There's something there. I think if I heard the EFCC boss say, he said it when he was talking about, I think, the real estate sector. And the politicians are becoming a lot more smart by the day. If I heard him correctly, he's talked about some declaring their assets they will steal ahead of time. So in their document, not necessarily that they have it, but they know that by the end, maybe they have a projection, so that you're not going to say, I did not declare. So they declare ahead of time the things they will steal. You don't know they're going to steal it. So how do we get ourselves out of this? If the EFCC has identified it with the smart minds, then that means we can actually mitigate it. Because with the way politicians, people who had no career, who had no clear source of revenue, or just were quite comfortable, come into politics and they become stupendously wealthy. We've had conversations, even on television, asking former leaders, how did you make your money? And there's no clarity to how they made their money. And these people are so rich. I mean, war chests extraordinaire. That's what they carry. So it leads to be, that's why people say they come into office and they steal our money and they use the same money to oppress us. That's connected, follow the money part is what I like about the organization. How do we ensure, maybe not to be able to eradicate, I don't know whether eradication is a possibility, critically mitigate to reduce it to the barest minimum, that before you can steal public funds, you will be, you know, something else to be able to do that. Because right now it's very easy to steal public funds. Very easy.
You see, this is not rocket science, you know, because, see, that's why we're advocating for open government. And yes, that's why I also like what the Corporate Affairs Commission is doing. Let's know who owns what, when, and when. You know, and that's why when you even go online, you can see the directors of different companies and the date they were registered. When they declare their assets, there's a government agency that is supposed to ensure verification. How do they do that? And you know, we've also called that when public officials and our politicians declare their assets, let's make that declaration public. The only person who was bold enough to do that was Waziri Adio when he was appointed to head Naiti. You know, he went on X, which was Twitter, and published, you know, what was in his account, what asset he had, you know, before he went into office. Even if, you know, again, constitutionally, you're just allowed to fill the form and submit. But then I think that if we want to tackle corruption, governments should publish this asset declaration so that the Nigerian people can independently verify and then ask questions. And so that when people acquire wealth in an ill manner, the Nigerian people can then put it side by side what they have declared. And yes, you know, I give it to the politicians. They're becoming really smart and dubious. And sadly, that's why you also now you have state capture. You know, you have strong men, you know, strong men, not women, strong men in the corridors of power who are now capturing states because of the kind of wealth that they have. So now you have institutions of government that is supposed to serve the collective interest of the people, serving an interest or serving, you know, an interest of an individual, which is very, very selfish. So again, if we want to strengthen our processes, maybe we need to go a step further, because there's what you call the beneficial ownership. You know, publishing. There's a register in the United Kingdom. You can Google and check every single thing that, you know, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom owns. You know, how much is what is his value before he entered office and when he left office. But today we don't have beneficial ownership. You know, yes, you can see, you know, directors of company and the day they were registered, but you cannot see specifically what asset is accrued to those names. And if we can go further, you know, that would help civil society in our efforts, our advocacy, you know, and to support also anti-corruption agency on the fight against corruption.
Well, this is a very important conversation to have. I mean, we can also talk about the people themselves who line up in front of these political office holders' homes and houses and offices, looking for, you know, the daily 2K. So these ones have to then kill a cow, dole out money on a daily basis, and they always question the people that, so where do you expect us to get these monies from, right? Because you come and say, we need to get married, your wife just gave birth, when it's actually, no, your own wife that gave birth, but you call her my own wife as well. So the system in itself has that challenge. So maybe we end on that note, how the people can also support this, because you find a lot of people who don't see anything wrong in this because it benefits them in that sense, even though it's 5,000 or 10,000 naira that they get from this office holder. So what is their responsibility in all of this amidst the prevailing poverty?
You know, my brother Kayode, first we need to understand that even our culture, as it's its own, embraces corruption and accepts corruption. And I think first, you know, to roll back this, we need to do a lot of sensitization and advocacy around it, and also do a re-engineering of our value system as a whole. But then again, our politicians have become so smart that now they have weaponized corruption. They've weaponized corruption that, you know, so if you create jobs and you create value and people are busy, nobody will come and line up in the front of your house every morning, you know, to want to get a handout. If you're able to provide social amenities and safety nets for people, when they are sick, they get their health insurance cover them. You know, when they take their children to the hospital or when they go to school, there's free education, there's quality and timely education, then nobody would have to go and line up. When government is able to provide shelter, you know, for her citizen and ensure, you know, a better standard of living. Mind you, this is about dignity. Everybody in Nigeria have a sense of pride and dignity, but when you take away that dignity, they would come and line up and want to get a handout. So again, we need to, you know, look at our value system and our culture that have fully embraced corruption, because I'll not lie to you, man. Our culture actually embraces, you know, this kind of system and corruption as its whole. And, you know, if we don't find a solution to it and roll back, you know, on this social engineering, it's going to be a lot of headache for us in time to come.
Hamzat Lawal, we have to thank you so much for your time. I know you've been doing a lot of road trips across the country. Maybe we'll have a sit down, talk about the things you have seen in this your past, how many years now, following the money. But it's always a pleasure having you, Hamzat Lawal, founder, Connected Development, Follow the Money, and so on and so on. Thank you and wish you the very best.
Thank you, Kayode. Bye-bye now.
Goodbye. Oh, there you have it. So the conversation is still out there. Let us know what you think about it. But we'll take a quick break now. When we return, we're headed to Katsina State. The death toll from that mosque attack has now reached 32. What exactly is playing out? We'll find out in a moment. Stay with us.